Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Dearest Mother, Love Ruthie. Ruth Smallshaw Ray's Letters to Her Mother, 1945, Part 12. 667 University Drive, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, October 21st, 1945. Dearest Mother, was it ever really swell of you to send the little parcel of brownies, and were they ever good? Love them. And the letter from Grandma. They haven't the glasses and thought maybe I could get them myself, so... Well, the whole week at school was the best yet this term, so I've really high hopes now. I went to church this morning, and was it ever a good sermon? It's so nice to be back. Lottie and family said hi. They're moving near here, a bungalow, 913 Temperance, sometime this week, and I'll be invited to supper when they're settled. Come to think of it, I've really missed going to church in the morning and saying hi to the folks and the people. A couple of boys from Alf, PA said that they'd missed me and to come tonight, and Reverend Jolly said, "Well, Ruth, how are you now? Better? Coming to Alf tonight?" So I felt very happy, and I walked home with Inky and Joe, a sailor. Marion's making an apple pie now. Marshall just phoned and wanted me to go over, or him come over, but I'm writing to you, see? He wanted me to go over for dinner, but I said I'd go another time. Oh, Mother, is this ever something? Marshall wanted me to go to a show or something Friday and Saturday, so I thought we'd do better if we had Kent and Marion along. It was quite a struggle to get everyone in the right frame of mind, but we really had a pretty good time. You know, I think Kent's a pretty swell guy, and Marion likes him. We ended up in a little poker game over at Parrott's. Mr. Parrott asked where I'd been the last 6 months, but Marshall got him away before we began talking. It was the first time I'd been there since the funeral. Editor's note of Miriam Parrott. And Mother, did some things really hurt? I was so used to going there with Miriam. The place fairly rings with memories. I love you. Merle phoned last night. She was playing bridge. Her mother is in town today, I guess. She has a bed, sitting room in the McKim apartments, as you'll hear. It's a fairly old place, though, but she's lucky at that. Tomorrow the photographers come to take our pictures, and so I have my room plastered with art. The art room, isn't it ironical? As yet, haven't got a radio nor my skates. Like to, though. Well, gotta go and pour out our cocktails before supper, so I'll say bye. I love you. Thanks again for the brownies. Delicious. Going to church tonight. Love, Ruthie. 667 University Drive, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, October 29th, 1945. Dearest Mother, hello, dear. How are you today? I meant to have written to you before this, and thank you for sending me the paper. I'm glad that you liked the birthday flowers. I'd hoped they'd be nice. Did they last? I was sorry that the locket didn't get to you on time. Gee, of all the trouble I went to get it to the engravers so it would be ready to mail on time. I really got in the doghouse here because I was late getting back at noon. I guess it must have been too small because I posted it in time, I thought. Well, anyway, I hope you'd like it. You know, dear, you're beginning to be hard to get things for, although I guess you could think of many things yourself. What did Bud do? I was really surprised and sorry to hear about Vince, but I'm glad you did all you could for the kiddies. You know, I think it would be the best thing that ever happened to our family if you did take Frankie and let him go to Scott with Bud. Are you thinking of it at all seriously? Do. Well, I'm trying to write this at noon and recess, so it's probably going to get even more disconnected. Everything's swell, or has been. We have a class after 4 and going bowling tonight. Thursday I went to see The Corn is Green at the Cap with Marshall. Friday he asked me to the lawyer's dance at the Cave. but we had our Halloween party at school. We really had fun, and if there's one way of having your morale lifted, it's to come to one of these parties. The deaf graduates come for it, so I really had a good time. Marion and I had the best time of anyone, I guess. Marshall and Kent drove up about 9:30 and waited out the front till 10:30 to drive us home. And Beth's so mad she won't even speak to us now. Saturday I really got in the doghouse. Marshall had asked me to go out, but I never promised. So I went out to supper and the show and dancing after with a fellow who was in for the weekend. Well, Marion said Marshall phoned 7 times. Sunday I went to church at 8 and had breakfast with the DYPA and went to church at 11. Mrs. Parrott asked me over to dinner, but I couldn't go. Marshall phoned again in the afternoon and felt very sorry for himself because he'd stayed in Saturday night and got 13 hours sleep. So he came over and we went for a walk. Isn't it touching? I was so surprised Mr. and Mrs. O'Reilly are leaving for Lethbridge, so I phoned them up and I'm going to try to go over after school tomorrow. Now I wish I'd been over more often. Well, it's 5 o'clock now when we've had our class. I'm staying for supper here. I think the compact sounds nice, and I'll look for my present too. Oh, I imagine it was Mrs. Ranford who phoned us. I was very surprised to get a package of wedding cake from Laurel. Really sweet of her to remember me, as we haven't been in contact with each other for quite a while. I thought it was nice. That doesn't mean a present, does it? No. I think Merle would spoil everything to get her mother up here. Encourage Mrs. Jelly not to leave her bridge cronies. My mother's still got to win those dimes. Mary Cathcart, too. She was teaching out there, wasn't she? Better go now. Just finished bowling, and Marion and I got 2 dates for Thursday night. Now Hussey's really mad. I love you, Ruthie. 667 University Drive, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, November 4th, 1945. Hiya, ma mère, and how are you? Thanks for sending on the paper and the latest engagement notices, and of course your letter. Really swell. I'm really glad the flowers stayed on. I thought you used to say they lasted well. And is that ever swell about Bud in the choir? That I've got to see. I hope Merle enjoyed her weekend at home. She certainly didn't waste much time about it, did she? I did get to see the O'Reillys. Marion phoned the RCMP barracks for me, and they told her the time and station they were leaving. So Marion put me on a streetcar headed that direction, and I just got to the station in time. They had quite a few friends around, but she really seemed pleased that I went. So with a little push, I sometimes do get around to fulfilling a few obligations. And now the latest, dear. Yesterday I got another letter from Flint, Michigan, offering me a class of 4- and 5-year-old beginners, commencing February 1st or sooner. Or if I'm not interested, would I be interested in a position for September 1946? Well, anyway, it made me very happy that they still want me. All I ask for is a bit of enthusiasm. Well, isn't it swell? But no, Marshall says that far fields look greener, and I probably won't like it so much. So I said I was going to write to you, and you'd say it was swell. He said, sure, because your mother is just like you, and she helps you blow up the balloons, and then all your friends have to put up with you being in the clouds, or else try and bring you back to earth. Just catch me ever mentioning it again to him. But anyway, I can dream, can't I? I really would like to be in Michigan for February and miss all this cold weather coming up. Many other reasons. Yes, I sort of knew Monty Meyer, that Kathy will marry. I tell you, you remember at the beach one summer? Well, I met him, but I don't believe I ever saw him when we got to Regina. He was quite dark and good-looking, if I remember correctly. Yes, Mother, but what sort of present should I send Laurel? Well, little dear, I'll say bye for now. Everything's been okay except that bug to go south young woman is biting again, and and what do I do about it now? Just forget it? I love you very much, Ruth. Room 117, School for the Deaf, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, November 8th, 1945. Dearest Mother, Hi, dear. This is your good little daughter, working overtime at school. Oh, yes. Well, anyway, I'm at school because I know that to go home, letter writing would end in a vain effort, and it's my turn to make supper, and it's very cold outside, so school's not such a bad place. Well, I'm really smartening up, I think. This week was exam, report, school paper, and letter week, and I didn't even rush. Did exams last week, so had them finished Monday. Reports done Tuesday, letters Wednesday, and got the kids' paper in and all today. Well, good for me. Thanks so much for the cake. Is it ever good and really traveled well, and I'll have to write to Auntie and thank her myself. Also, thank you for the paper. It's nice to get. Oh, did I tell you we got our books back from the United States and a letter from Pew thanking me? Everyone here thinks they're good, but the part that counts is the fact that the kids really went crazy over them. Thrilled. Boy, was I ever. Honestly, I was never so happy. Leard says I'm, quote, wasting my time here. I should be illustrating. He said that if I sent any of my work to a publishing company, they couldn't help but be interested. Well, anyway, it didn't cost him anything to say it, and it made me feel good. We mentioned our proposition from Flint to Inkster, and she said, Oh, you couldn't go this year, and would you really be interested in giving up your Canadian citizenship? So, I've got two of my little boyfriends washing the walls for me. Good kids, eh? But they come and ask if there's anything to do. Jimmy asked Marion how to say honey, so he could say it. Say it to Miss Smallshaw. Is it ever cute? He took all his pictures out of a photograph album and brought them to me and asked if I'd like to have one. He also asked Marion if he could have the picture of me in my evening dress. My own kids are doing better. Today was Walter's birthday, so we had a party. That I love. Everything's fine, lots to do. Marion and I have another date with our guys from the bowling alley. Every time I turn around at home, Marshall's sitting there. It used to be that he phoned every night. Now he's around. I came home from church. There he was. I'm practically into bed. He's at the door. Oh, well, at least I see all the shows this way, if nothing else. He gave me another photograph. And guess what? I got a letter at school from Regina today saying a friend of mine would be in Saskatoon Saturday and would like to see me. Or would I be going to Regina this weekend? Sam! Is that ever cute, eh? Well, little dear, I'll say bye. As I said, it is my turn to make supper. I love you, Ruthie. Corona Hotel, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, room 319, November 12th, 1945. Dearest Mother, Hello, honey, and how are you? This will have to be short, but I just wanted to let you know where your wandering daughter is. It's really a pretty swell place. A city for fun, that's for sure. Saskatoon's a prettier city, though, as far as layout goes. Well, dear, everything's been wonderful, and I really go for this traveling business. Went to the cathedral here yesterday like a good kid. Saskatoon seems so long ago and far away I can hardly remember. Oh, yes, saw Rhapsody in Blue, George Gershwin's life. Really wonderful music, with Marshall. Friday, Marion and I went dancing with our guys, Frankie and Rod. Frankie, mine, brought us each a pair of beautiful crepe stockings. Really swell. He owns a store, so that's why he could. Just the same, it was really wonderful. It's the first pair I've had since I've been in Michigan, so needed them. Oh, and did I tell you that Sam wrote and asked me to see him in Saskatoon? Well, he took me to dinner at the Gem, and imagine my surprise to find 14 deaf boys. I was the only girl. Billy was up too and said he sees Bud every day. I thought I'd better go home, but the boys insisted I go bowling with them Saturday afternoon. So 9 deaf graduates and I bowled, and I was actually second highest. I really had a wonderful time. They're all swell kids and really made me feel good. Billy said what pretty curly hair I had, so I guess he's not mad. They really made me feel popular, and Sam wants me to let him know when I go home, and a couple of others said they'd be just as good boyfriends. Marshall wanted me to go out and seemed quite cross that I was coming here. Not that it matters. Well, honey, I'll really have to close as it's 6:30 and the kids are coming at 7. Bye for now. Love you, Ruth. 667 University Drive, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. November 18th, 1945. Dear Mother, hello, dearest. How are you? Was it ever a nice letter I got from you and Bud? Really peachy, and thanks again for the paper. Oh, someday we'll be caught up in these current events. Sure hope we get a radio, but soon. I've had my name in Eaton's, and he phoned and said he had one. $54, though, short wave. However, he's promised me one maybe next week, about $27. Said he put it away for me when I went down to see the other one. So there's hope. Well, everything's okay, dear, although Marion had the flu a couple of days this week and had to miss school. And I finally caught up on my obligation. Well, a couple. It's been gnawing on my conscience about Merle and Eileen. So this afternoon I got busy, and well, what had I to go on? No addresses, no names, no phone numbers. First I opened the phone book at the McKim block, where Merle is, but it had no phone. So I looked through a few names to find someone who lived at the McKim block. Ethel McCaig. Phoned it. Merle Jelly? Oh, she's right here. Imagine. So she was going out to supper, but I'll phone her another time. She says she hasn't met many people and wants her mommy up here. So I shared a little secret with her. This morning in church, Downer preached, a woman near the front had pretty red hair and black velvet hat and coat, and my heart cried just a little bit. I miss you, darn. Inky and Mrs. Bedford and Lottie and Mrs. Parrott were all in church, but I was out first and didn't have a chance to say hi. Honestly, both Inky and Lottie are that homely type of half-red-headed women. Oh well, they just need a crabby daughter to tell them the score. Well, lovely, after my success with finding Merle, I commenced on Eileen. I phoned everyone who had a phone on the 6th block Temperance. I had a couple of chats with some of Eileen's, but finally hit the right one. She's boarding and says everything's okay. She writes home twice a week, so can't imagine why they wonder. Guess they'd like me to write home every day. She started out living with Ellen Taylor, but says Ellen was so moody. Now Ellen lives alone in one room near the hospital and eats out. Eileen's okay. Well, so for my obligations, I should write a few letters. Do you know what an awful thing I did? I completely forgot Connie's birthday until yesterday. I'll let it go now. Honestly, it never dawned on me. Too busy worrying about yours, dear, you see. Well, I finally got to see the Parrotts. I never saw Mrs. Parrott before. I don't know where you got the idea. Thursday Marshall drove me over, and they seemed glad to see me. I'd seen Mr. Parrott before, but he said, Well, Ruth, where have you been the last 6 months? He really thinks I have changed. Added dignity, he calls it. He said, Oh, you're doing all right, young lady. Yes, Marshall's very cross with me. First, because Frankie answered the phone and said I was out. Second, because I wouldn't tell him who, why, or what regarding Edmonton. Third, because I'm a, quote, very annoying person. And fourth, because I don't know human nature. Because I think there are a few good people in the world. And he says you can't trust anyone. And I guess to sum it up, I'm just hopeless. So I told him to go out and shoot himself. Maybe he did. Oh gosh, it's almost 6. I have lots more to say, but I'll write again, and you do too. I love you, oh so much. Hi, buddy. Hope the coupons are okay. Ruth. 667 University Drive, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. November 22nd, 1945. Dearest Mother, Hi, my little dear. It's 4:20 again, and I thought I'd better dash off a few words to you again. It seems like I just turned around from mailing a letter to you only to discover I've forgotten half the news. Well, first, Mrs. Newman is correct about the scarlet fever. We've had quite a few cases in the primary rooms, none of mine, touch wood. I just didn't think to mention it before. The school was in quarantine and all the teachers had to take tests. I'm negative, so it's okay. Well, we just got out of quarantine. They'd thought of closing the school, but no luck. When a couple more of the babies break out. Very mild cases, though, so we're in again. Oh, is it ever a beautiful sunset, mauve and cerise and blue? Oh, well, the engineers just swept up so I can get back again. Oh, yes, so we didn't have Sunday school because the minister can't come in the building because of the quarantine. Well, it's up to you, dear, how much you tell Mrs. Newman, but believe me, dear, when she gets hold of the latest stories about up here, she'll talk your ear off. I can't tell you, but when she starts, don't be surprised at anything. It's much worse than the case last year, so I'll tell you at Christmas, but it's better if you don't know as far as she's concerned anyway. Well, the most important of all, I want to thank both Daddy and you so very much for paying the hospital bill and doctor bill. I've often wondered about it, and if the responsibility were mine. Thanks a million. Honestly, is it ever swell of you? So far I can't talk in terms of money, but maybe sometime. Oh, and thanks for the stickers. Sometime I'll have to get around to getting some Christmas parcels to stick. Honestly, things are sure on the move again. We have an exam Monday, and then the next week the visiting committee to inspect the detail of the classrooms. Then the Christmas concert rolls around. We had a meeting and they asked if I'd do all the scenery and decorations this year and not have to work on the concert itself. I agreed. Marion has to work on costumes and no one else has anything special, but of course all work. So we feel that we're the good kids again. Honestly, though, everything that happens, they get us to do a lot. Well, the engineer just fixed my light for me so I can see what I'm writing now. Is that ever swell about Bud? I'm really proud of him. I'd like to see the play. When will it be on and maybe I can make it home? Well, I guess I told you Marion had the flu. So did Margaret and Chris last week, so we were short teachers. Now they're back and Beth went home early today, not feeling very well. Did I tell you about my little health plan? They're all kidding me about it. Nothing much, just walking home after 4 o'clock, sleeping, eating, and drinking lots of water. I drank so much water Monday that bowling I had to keep going to the bathroom. Then did I get kidded. Well, I guess Marshall's still cross. Frankie and Rod were over last night, brought us a bottle of wine to save for Christmas. Well, it's my turn to make supper, so I better go. Bye now. Love you. P.S. Got a rug? Mirror? Blinds? Lamp? Dining room suite? Marion wrote to you in school today. Love, Ruthie. To be continued. Well, that concludes today's presentation. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care. And I'll see you next time.